Hey everyone, Dylan O'Neill here, and I wanted to make a video regarding on how I use the VIX while trading. So the VIX, which is ticker symbol VIX, is the Volatility S&P 500 Index. If you want to learn more about the textbook definition and how it's calculated, I recommend typing in VIX Investopedia on Google or any other search engine, and you'll see various web pages regarding good educational content. So like I said, these are more of if you want to find out the textbook definition, how does the VIX work, how it's calculated, all that kind of stuff. This is a good source for that. For this video, I'm not going to bore you with that information. I'm just going to jump right into how I personally use it. So when using the VIX, I use it as an indicator, okay? I use it as an indicator to gauge market strength and weakness. So many traders will use indicators such as the MACD, RSI, VWAP, 200 SMA, 50 SMA, so on and so forth. With me personally, I'm against using those lagging indicators. Okay, that's just my preference. If they work for you, then feel free, use them and do whatever you need to do. But for me personally, instead of using lagging indicators such as, like I said, MACD, RSI, so on and so forth, I use an indicator called the VIX. Okay, and as I mentioned before, I use this indicator to gauge market strength and weakness as well as direction. Okay, so the key thing that you need to understand for this video is that the VIX inversely correlates with the overall market. For the sake of this video, I will be using the S&P 500 because this is the volatility of that index. Okay, so whether you look at SPY, SPX, or ES, the VIX should move inversely to that. Okay, so for this video, I personally use the ES. So whenever you hear me say ES, I'm talking about the S&P 500. So basically what I mean by this is that when the S&P goes up, the VIX will tend to go down. When the VIX goes up, the S&P will tend to go down. Okay, so they move opposite from each other. So that being said, what I personally do is I look for areas of key support and resistance to gauge where the market is heading. Okay, so for this example, I'm going to show you guys a key resistance level on the VIX and how I utilize this to somewhat speculate where the overall market was heading. Okay, so here, back in October, late October, we can clearly see that this level, 30.5, acted as resistance at multiple points for the VIX. Okay, so you can see right there. Every time the VIX tried getting above 30.5, it was met with sellers. Okay, so every time the VIX, like I said, came up to this area, it would find resistance, and the market, in regards to the ES, would go higher every time the VIX would find resistance here. Vice versa, when the VIX finally shot up above this resistance, the market headed lower. And I'll show you that right now. So this happened, this is a 4-hour chart for the VIX. This happened on October 26th, okay? You could see down here this timestamp, right? October 26th. I'm going to go to SPX, which is the S&P 500, and I'm going to go to October 26th, which is the same exact day. Okay, right here, we can see October 26th. If you look down below, you'll see the timestamp of October 26th. As the VIX was moving over that resistance and squeezing higher, you can see that the S&P 500 was going lower. Okay, this is a big red day for the S&P, and then it continued going lower in the few days after the fact. So S&P went from 3,440 down to about 3,230. So a 90-point move in these few days. Okay. Did I do that math right? Let me see. 3,440 to now even more. So 190 points in a few days, which is a pretty substantial drop. Nothing crazy, but this is definitely a decent sized pullback. So like I said, on the VIX, we indicated that there was resistance there, and what I would do personally, and this is what I did in this situation, I waited for a breakout above this level, 30.5, and in return, I played SPY puts on the S&P 500. Okay, so this is how I use the VIX. I look for key areas of support and resistance, and then once I have that information, all I do is I see how they weight, how the price action reacts to those areas of support and resistance. Okay, so like I said, moving on, I wanted to show you what the VIX is doing currently. Okay, so this is a real time, right? And we could see here clearly that the VIX has been using this trend line as an area of support. Okay, so let me take this away. Every time the VIX has hit this trend line, has tested this trend line, the S&P 500 sees resistance. Okay, so like I said, when the VIX bounces, chances are the S&P will head lower. So like I said, every time VIX bounces at this trend line, the S&P moves lower. So this is a pretty medium term, I'd say, trend line. It started on November 27th. Now we are in close to February. We're in the last week of January, or second to last week, I should say. So this has been a few months that VIX has been respecting this trend line. As you can see here, today the VIX breached this trend line. So I told my members, I said, look for the market to rally higher. Okay? When this VIX breaches this trend line, the market should head higher. Okay? So as this is heading lower after losing this support, look at the S&P 500 today. Clear representation of an inverse correlation. When the VIX goes down, the S&P goes up. Okay, so what I see for the VIX moving forward is I believe that it will test the $20 support level. I'm going to highlight this $20 support. You can clearly see here that each time VIX has tested 20 or in that general area, it finds support. Okay, so I believe that because VIX just breached that trend line, I believe that the VIX will come down to 20. If it finds support at 20, I'm expecting a pretty decent sized bounce, and as a result, I feel as though ES will find a top at that point. Okay, so ES will rally until the VIX hits 20. Once the VIX hits 20, we want to wait for confirmation that there's buyers down there. So if VIX finds support at 20, look for resistance on ES. Okay, that's what I will be doing going forward. You can see here, like I said, this 20 level is very important. Let me go to a daily chart. Okay, so this has been support multiple times. Prior to it being support, it was resistance, right? You see here, acted as resistance there, resistance in this area. So this is a key level for the VIX, and I expect it to find support there if and when it gets tested. So hopefully you guys learned something from this video. As I said, this is how I personally use the VIX. I look for support and resistance areas, and that's how I gauge the strength or weakness of VIX. If it's breaking through resistance, that indicates strength for the VIX. That being said, as a result, if the VIX is breaking above a key resistance, we can speculate that the S&P 500 will head lower. Vice versa, if VIX is strongly breaking below support, we can speculate that the S&P 500 will go higher. So whatever the VIX is doing, the S&P should do the opposite. Okay? That's enough for this video. If you have any questions, feel free to comment down below, and please drop a like if you may.